Before we begin tonight's sleep story, comment the word Jesus below if you are watching this to fall asleep. It helps others find this channel, and I read every single comment. And if you enjoy historical sleep stories like this one, subscribe so you never miss a new one. Now, take a slow, deep breath, close your eyes, and let us journey back together. The Gentle Wanderer of Galilee. A sleep story of peace and quiet paths. In the small village of Nazareth, nestled among the gentle hills of Galilee, there stood a modest workshop where the scent of cedar shavings hung perpetually in the cool morning air. The sky had not yet welcomed the sun, but already the faint glow of an oil lamp flickered through the wooden shutters, casting soft amber patterns upon the dusty street outside. Inside, a young man worked steadily at his bench, his hands moving with the patient rhythm of one who has learned that good things require time and care. The workshop was a humble place, with walls of rough-hewn stone and a floor covered in a thick carpet of wood curls and sawdust. Tools hung in orderly rows upon wooden pegs, each one worn smooth from years of faithful use. There were chisels and mallets, planes and saws, and in the corner stood several lengths of oak and sycamore, waiting patiently to be shaped into yokes for oxen, doors for homes, or simple furniture for the families of this quiet Galilean town. The young carpenter moved a wooden plane across a beam of pale wood, and with each slow, measured stroke, thin ribbons of shavings curled upward like gentle prayers rising toward the ceiling. The sound was soft and rhythmic, like the whisper of wind through olive leaves, and it blended peacefully with the distant crowing of a rooster announcing the approaching dawn. His name was Yeshua, which in the tongue of his people meant salvation, though in those quiet mornings he was simply a craftsman learning his trade, a son helping to support his family, a neighbor known for his gentle manner and thoughtful eyes. His hands were strong from years of honest labor, calloused in the places where tools met wood, yet they moved with surprising tenderness, as if each piece of timber deserved reverence and care. The village was beginning to stir now. Through the open window, the sounds of Nazareth waking drifted into the workshop like a gentle stream finding its course. A mother called to her children. A donkey brayed somewhere near the well. The distant bleating of sheep echoed from the hillsides where shepherds had kept watch through the cool night hours. These were the familiar sounds of home, as comforting as a well-worn garment, as steady as the rising and setting of the sun. Yeshua paused in his work and walked to the doorway, brushing wood dust from his simple linen tunic. He watched as the eastern sky transformed from deep purple to soft rose, then to the palest gold, as if an invisible hand were painting the heavens with infinite patience. The air was crisp and clean, carrying the earthy fragrance of dew-covered fields and the sweet perfume of wildflowers that dotted the surrounding hills. He breathed deeply, filling his lungs with the peace of this ordinary morning, his heart full of something that could only be described as profound gratitude for the simple gift of being alive. The hills surrounding Nazareth rolled gently toward the horizon, their slopes covered in terraces of grapevines, groves of olive trees, and fields of golden wheat that swayed like waves upon a calm sea when the breeze moved through them. In the distance, Mount Tabor rose against the brightening sky, its rounded summit catching the first rays of sunlight while the valleys below remained wrapped in soft purple shadows. It was a landscape that seemed to breathe with ancient wisdom, a land that had witnessed countless generations come and go, their stories woven into the very soil beneath the feet of those who walked there. Yeshua returned to his bench and selected a piece of olive wood, running his fingers along its grain, feeling the unique patterns and curves that made this particular piece unlike any other in the world. Every knot told a story, every ring spoke of seasons past, of rain and drought, of years of patient growth. He understood that his task was not to force the wood into something it could not become, but rather to discover what shape already lay hidden within, waiting to be revealed by gentle hands and careful attention. The morning light grew stronger now, slanting through the eastern window and illuminating countless motes of dust that floated in the air like tiny golden stars suspended in amber honey. The warmth touched his face, and he closed his eyes for a moment, simply resting in the sensation, allowing his thoughts to grow still like a pond settling after a stone's ripple has faded. In such moments, the boundary between heaven and earth seemed impossibly thin, as if the divine breath that animated all living things could be felt directly upon the skin. Years passed in the way that years do, turning boys into men, transforming seasons one into another, carrying the village of Nazareth forward through time as steadily as a river flows toward the sea. And in the fullness of those years, Yeshua left the carpenter's bench and began to walk the dusty roads of Galilee, drawn by an inner calling as certain as the stars that guided shepherds through the night. The Sea of Galilee lay like a mirror of beaten silver beneath the afternoon sky, its surface so still that the surrounding hills were reflected perfectly in its waters, creating a world within a world, a realm of dream floating upon a realm of stone and earth. The air was warm and thick with the scent of fish and wet rope, of dried reeds and the mineral tang of water that had traveled from distant springs to gather here in this bowl of ancient hills. Along the shoreline, fishing boats rested upon the sand like slumbering birds, their wooden hulls weathered to soft gray by countless suns and seasons. Nets hung from poles to dry, their intricate webs catching the light in patterns of shadow and gold. Fishermen sat in small groups, mending torn mesh with practiced fingers, their conversations low and unhurried, punctuated by long silences in which only the gentle lapping of water against sand could be heard. Yeshua walked slowly along the water's edge, his sandals leaving shallow impressions in the damp sand that the lake waters would soon smooth away. His robe was simple and undyed, the color of raw linen, and his dark hair moved gently in the breeze that came across the water, carrying with it the promise of cooler evening hours to come. He paused often to gaze out at the lake, watching the play of light upon its surface, observing how the water held the sky within itself, how the eternal above and the eternal below seemed to meet and merge in this place of quiet beauty. A small group had gathered nearby, drawn by word of his presence, by stories that had spread from village to village like seeds carried on the wind. They were ordinary people, these listeners, men and women with lined faces and work-worn hands, children with bright curious eyes, elderly souls who had seen much of life and sought meaning in its twilight hours. They settled themselves upon the grass and stones near the water's edge, waiting with patient expectation, the way one waits for rain after a long dry season. When Yeshua spoke, his voice was not loud or commanding, but rather soft and steady, carrying across the still air like music from a distant flute. He spoke of things they knew well, the sowing of seeds and the harvesting of grain, the care of sheep and the making of bread, the love of parents for their children and the faithfulness of true friends. Yet in his telling, these familiar things became windows into deeper truths, doorways opening onto landscapes of meaning they had never glimpsed before. He spoke of a kingdom not made of stone walls or iron swords, but of love and mercy, of forgiveness and peace. He spoke of the small mustard seed that grows into a great tree where birds make their nests, of the leaven that a woman folds into flour until all the dough is transformed, of the treasure hidden in a field that fills the one who finds it with such joy that he gladly gives all he has to possess it. His words painted pictures that settled into the hearts of his listeners like gentle rain soaking into thirsty earth, bringing forth possibilities they had not known lay dormant within them. The afternoon wore on, and the sun traced its slow arc across the heavens, lengthening shadows and mellowing the light from bright gold to soft amber. Some of the children had fallen asleep in their mothers' laps, their small faces peaceful, their breathing deep and even. The adults too had grown still, their usual worries and cares set aside like garments removed at the end of a long day, their hearts open and receptive in a way they rarely allowed themselves to be. When Yeshua fell silent, no one moved to leave. They remained there by the water, held in a spell of peace that none wished to break. The lake continued its gentle rhythm, waves whispering against the shore in a cadence as old as time itself, as if the very waters were offering their own form of blessing to all who had gathered there. A heron glided low over the surface, its reflection rippling beneath it, and somewhere in the reeds a nightingale began to sing, filling the gathering dusk with notes of liquid silver. There were times when Yeshua withdrew from the villages and the pressing crowds, seeking the quiet of high places where the wind spoke in its own ancient language and the stars burned bright and close. Such solitude was necessary, as essential to him as bread or water, a returning to the source from which all life flowed. He climbed a mountain as evening fell, his footsteps sure upon the rocky path, his breathing deep and steady with the exertion of the ascent. The air grew cooler as he rose above the valleys, and the sounds of human habitation faded until only the whisper of wind through sparse grass remained. Wildflowers grew in sheltered pockets among the rocks, their petals closed against the coming night, their colors muted in the deepening twilight. At last he reached a broad shelf of stone near the summit, a natural platform from which the whole world seemed to unfold in every direction. The hills of Galilee rolled away toward the west, where the last embers of sunset still glowed along the horizon in shades of coral and rose. To the east, the sky had already deepened to purple, and the first stars were appearing, shy and tentative at first, then brighter and more numerous as darkness gathered its robes about the land. He sat upon a smooth boulder, drawing his cloak around his shoulders against the mountain chill, and simply looked. There was nothing he needed to do, nowhere he needed to be, no words that needed to be spoken. In this high place, far above the concerns and urgencies of daily life, he rested in a stillness that went deeper than mere silence, a peace that the world could neither give nor take away. The stars continued to emerge, filling the dome of heaven with incountable points of light. The ancients had given names to the patterns they formed, seeing in them bears and hunters, queens and serpents, stories written in light across the endless dark. But to Yeshua, gazing upward with eyes that held both wonder and familiarity, they spoke of something beyond stories, of a love that had called everything into being and held it still, moment by moment, in the tender palm of eternity. A small night bird called from somewhere among the rocks below, a single note repeated at long intervals, patient and persistent, as if it were calling out to a distant mate or simply declaring its presence to the listening universe. The sound was lonely and beautiful at once, a thread of life woven into the vast tapestry of night, precious and irreplaceable in its own small way. Hours passed, though time moved differently here, on this mountain beneath the wheeling stars. The moon rose late, a silver crescent that cast just enough light to transform the rocky landscape into a realm of soft shadows and pale gleaming surfaces. The wind had stilled to the faintest breath, and the temperature had dropped until each exhalation produced a small cloud of vapor that dissipated almost instantly into the clear, cold air. In such moments, Yeshua prayed, though his prayer was unlike the formal recitation spoken in synagogues and temple courts. It was more like breathing, like the natural exchange between one who loved and one who was beloved, wordless and intimate, as essential and as ordinary as the beating of his own heart. In the silence of that mountain, he was held by something greater than himself, something that knew him completely and cherished him infinitely, something that asked nothing of him but offered everything in return. When dawn finally approached, painting the eastern sky in shades of pearl and palest rose, he rose from his seat and stretched his limbs, which had grown stiff in the night cold. He looked once more at the vast panorama spreading out below him, the villages still wrapped in sleep, the lake gleaming faintly in the pre-dawn light, the terraced hillsides waiting to receive another day of sun and shadow. He felt renewed, his spirit washed clean like a garment that has been soaked in clear running water and hung in fresh air to dry. The villages he passed through were simple places, collections of mud brick houses clustered around central wells, surrounded by fields and orchards that provided sustenance for their inhabitants. The people who lived in them were farmers and shepherds, craftsmen and merchants, women who baked bread and wove cloth, children who played in dusty streets and helped with household chores. They lived close to the earth, their rhythms shaped by seasons and harvests, their joys and sorrows the universal joys and sorrows of human life in every age and place. Word of the gentle teacher from Nazareth had spread throughout the region, and wherever he went, people came to him with their troubles, their questions, their aching need for something they could not name. Among them came the sick, carried by friends and family members who hoped against hope that this wandering rabbi might bring relief where all other remedies had failed. There was a woman in one village whose daughter had been ill for many days with a fever that would not break. She approached Yeshua with tears streaming down her weathered face, her voice trembling as she described her child's condition, the sleepless nights of worry, the feeling of helplessness that threatened to overwhelm her. He listened with full attention, his eyes soft with compassion, his posture conveying nothing but acceptance and care. When she had finished speaking, he reached out and took her hands in his own, holding them gently the way one might hold something precious and fragile. He said no impressive words, performed no dramatic gestures, simply stood with her in her pain, acknowledging the weight of what she carried, honoring the depth of her love for her child. And something in that simple presence seemed to shift the air around them, as if a door had opened onto a room filled with light. He went with her to her home, a small dwelling at the edge of the village where chickens scratched in the bare earth of the courtyard and a donkey dozed in the shade of a fig tree. Inside, the air was close and warm, heavy with the smell of herbs that had been burned in the sickroom and poultices that had been applied without effect. The child lay on a mat in the corner, her small face flushed with fever, her breathing shallow and rapid. Yeshua knelt beside her and placed his hand upon her forehead, his touch as light as the brush of a feather. He remained there for a long moment, his eyes closed, his breathing slow and deep, as if he were drawing something from the very air and channeling it through his palm into the suffering child. The room was utterly still, the mother watching with breath held, her heart suspended between fear and hope. The child's breathing gradually slowed, deepened, and became more regular. The flush began to fade from her cheeks, replaced by a healthier color. Her small body, which had been rigid with distress, relaxed into the peaceful posture of normal sleep. When Yeshua withdrew his hand and opened his eyes, he smiled softly at the mother, a smile that contained worlds of tenderness and reassurance. She would recover fully, he told her, and when she woke she should be given clear broth and allowed to rest as long as her body needed. The mother wept again, but these were different tears, tears of relief and gratitude that washed away the fear that had gripped her heart for so many terrible days. She tried to thank him, stumbling over words that seemed inadequate to express what she felt, but he simply shook his head gently and told her that love had done the healing, the love she bore for her daughter, the love that connected all living beings in an invisible web of care and compassion. Evening gatherings were common in those days, simple meals shared among friends and strangers, where bread was broken and wine was poured and conversation flowed as freely as water from a spring. Yeshua loved these occasions, these ordinary moments of human connection that held within them the extraordinary gift of fellowship, the healing balm of belonging. In the home of a man named Lazarus, in the village of Bethany that lay just over the hills from Jerusalem, such a meal was underway as the sun set and the first evening stars appeared. The house was filled with the warm glow of many oil lamps, their flames steady and golden, casting dancing shadows upon the whitewashed walls. The air was fragrant with the aroma of roasted lamb and fresh bread, of herbs and spices and the sweet scent of honeyed figs arranged upon a clay platter. Guests reclined around a low table, propped on cushions and bolsters, their faces relaxed in the easy contentment that comes from good food shared with good companions. There was Lazarus himself, a man of middle years with a kind face and a ready laugh. There were his two sisters, Martha and Mary, one bustling about ensuring that every guest had what they needed, the other sitting quietly near their honored teacher, drinking in his words like a thirsty traveler at an oasis. There were fishermen from Galilee and merchants from Jerusalem, simple country folk and learned scholars, all gathered together around the same table, their differences dissolved in the warmth of shared fellowship. The bread was passed from hand to hand, each person breaking off a piece before passing it to their neighbor, a simple ritual that spoke of trust and provision and the fundamental human need to be sustained, both in body and in spirit. The wine was poured from earthen jugs, dark and rich and fragrant, a gift of the vine that had been tended and harvested and pressed and aged until it reached this moment of sharing. Conversation ebbed and flowed like gentle waves, punctuated by laughter and long comfortable silences. Someone asked Yeshua a question about the meaning of a passage from the ancient scriptures, and he answered with a story about a father and his two sons, about wandering and returning, about the joy that comes when what was lost is found again. His voice was low and measured, carrying easily through the room without the need for volume, drawing his listeners into the tale as if they themselves were characters within it. Outside, the sounds of the village evening drifted through the open windows. A mother sang a lullaby to her infant in a neighboring house, her voice soft and melodic, the ancient tune one that had been passed down through countless generations. A dog barked once, twice, then fell silent. The last bird settled into their roosts for the night, their final chirps and rustlings fading into peaceful silence. Martha brought out a dish of honey cakes, their tops glistening in the lamplight, and placed them at the center of the table. The sweetness of the honey mingled with the earthier aromas of the meal, creating a sensation that was at once comforting and celebratory. These were the simple pleasures of life, the ordinary miracles that occurred every day when people gathered together with open hearts and generous spirits, when the barriers of fear and suspicion fell away and only love remained. As the meal drew to its natural close and the hour grew late, a deep contentment settled over the gathered company. Conversations grew quieter, more reflective, as the wine and food and fellowship worked their gentle magic on tired bodies and weary souls. Some of the guests had already begun to doze, their heads nodding, their breathing deep and regular, lulled into sleep by the warmth and safety of this place and this company. The night had grown late, and the village of Bethany had fallen into the profound silence of deep sleep. The last lamps had been extinguished, the last conversations had faded into murmurs and then into stillness, and now only the soft sounds of breathing and the occasional call of a night owl disturbed the perfect peace of the darkness. In a small upper room, Yeshua lay upon a simple mat, his head resting upon a rolled garment that served as a pillow, his body finally surrendering to the rest it needed after long days of walking and teaching, of healing and loving, of giving himself fully to all who came to him with their needs and hopes and questions. The window was open to the night air, and through it came the cool breath of the hills, carrying the scent of wild thyme and sage, of olive groves and vineyards, of the ancient earth that had witnessed so much and would witness so much more. A single star burned bright in the square of sky visible through the window, a point of eternal light in the velvet darkness, a silent witness to all that passed below. His breathing grew slow and deep, his body heavy with the blessed weight of approaching sleep. The thoughts that had filled his mind throughout the day began to dissolve like morning mist under the rising sun, leaving only a peaceful emptiness, a restful void in which nothing needed to be done or decided or understood. The cares and concerns of tomorrow could wait for tomorrow. This moment was for stillness, for surrender, for the sacred gift of rest. Somewhere in the village, a baby stirred and was quieted by a mother's gentle touch. Somewhere in the hills, a shepherd kept watch over his sleeping flock, his eyes scanning the darkness for any sign of danger, his heart full of the ancient covenant between shepherd and sheep. Somewhere on the lake of Galilee, fishermen cast their nets into the silver water, hoping for a catch that would sustain their families through another day. The world continued its eternal turning, its cycles of work and rest, of waking and sleeping, of giving and receiving. And in the stillness of that upper room, the gentle wanderer of Galilee slept at last, his face peaceful in repose, his hands that had healed and blessed now folded quietly upon his chest. Whatever journeys lay ahead, whatever teachings remained to be shared, whatever love remained to be poured out upon a waiting world, could wait for the dawn. For now, there was only this moment, this breath, this perfect and complete peace. The star in the window burned on, steady and eternal, as it had burned since the first moments of creation and would burn long after the last human eye had closed in sleep. The night wrapped the village in its dark embrace, holding it gently, protecting it, blessing it with the deep rest that all living things require. And in homes throughout Bethany and throughout Galilee and throughout all the villages and cities of the ancient world, people slept and dreamed and were renewed, preparing themselves without knowing it for whatever the new day would bring. The peace of that night was not different from the peace of this night, and the rest that came to the weary wanderer of Galilee is the same rest that comes to all who surrender to the gentle arms of sleep. Let the worries of the day fade like the last light of sunset. Let the body grow heavy and still. Let the breath become slow and deep. And let the peace that passes understanding settle over you like a soft blanket, warming and protecting, holding you safe until the morning comes once more. Rest now. Sleep deeply. And know that you are held in love, as all beings have been held since the beginning of time, and as all beings will be held until time itself fades into eternity. The story fades gently into silence, and the night continues its peaceful vigil over a sleeping world.